Okay, so let's take everything from when we learned about the 45, 45, 90 and 30, 60, 90 and apply it to our unit circle here. Now this is your 30 degree, and let's go ahead and write that 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 60 degrees. So if I superimpose all the triangles we did on here, let's go ahead and pop all the information we know. So we know from our 30 degrees, which by the way, if you multiply this, let's take a side note here. If you do your conversion, you work this out, you get pi over 6. You're going to have to eventually memorize that. So 30 degrees or pi over 6. This is 45 or pi over 4. This is 60 or pi over 3. Now if we take our 30 degrees from what we have up from earlier, we said that this was root 3 over 2 comma 1 over 2. And we said that our tangent was root 3 over 3. Okay, and I know I'm kind of off the page here, but I want to get it all on the same screen, so you may be writing it much better than me. And then over here at 45, we said this is root 2 over 2 comma root 2 over 2. And our tangent here was a 1. At pi over 3, which is 60, we have 1 over 2 comma root 3 over 2. And our tangent here is going to be root 3. And then we took all this information and then we're applying it to the other side of the triangle here. But let's talk about how many degrees everything is, right? So first, we've already talked about this in my class. Let's do all the degrees here. So 30, 45, 60, 90, 120, 135. So this one would be 180, take away the 30, so 150, 180. Well, I really wrote that really far out there. Let's go ahead and write that here. 180. 180 plus 30 is 210. This ends up being 215. I know this is 270. I'm going to take away that, so this is 240. And then this is 300. 315, and 330. Okay, and then let's go ahead and put our radians. So 1 over 6, 2 over 6, 3 over 6, 4 over 6, 5 over 6, 6 over 6, 7 over 6, 8 over 6, 9 over 6, 10 over 6, 11 over 6. All right, so I'll pop. Oh, and then this one is 0 or 360 or 0 radians or 2 pi radians. Okay, so I got all those in. All right, now let's talk about our points. Well, if this is a unit circle, remember the radius is 1. So if this is a piece of graph paper, here I've went over 1 and nowhere up, down. Now if this is cosine and this is sine, 0 divided by 1 is 0. So the tangent here is 0. Over here we've went nowhere and we've went up 1. So 0 comma 1, and our tangent would be 1 divided by 0. Well, you can't divide it by 0. That's a no-no. So this is going to be an undefined. Over here, again, this has to do with your 60. A lot of people just know that they're going to go back this much and up, right? So back and up. So this is negative 1 over 2, positive root 3 over 2, and your tangent here would be negative root 3. I'm taking what we have learned, and I'm just popping it here. Oh goodness, I didn't do my 45s, did I? 1 over 4, 2 over 4, 3 over 4, 4 over 4, 5 over 4, 6 over 4, 7 over 4. Okay, got those in now. So then here we're going back root 2 over 2, up root 2 over 2. Our tangent is negative 1. Here we're going to be going back root 3 over 2, up 1 over 2, and our tangent is root 3 over 3. Here we went back 1 and nowhere, up, down. And then for tangent, it would be 0 divided by negative 1, which is 0. Here, this is going to be just like this one, right? Because they're both at a 30 degree. So we're going back root 3 over 2, down 1 over 2. And our tangent is going to be, oh, and I forgot to put a negative on my tangent here. Tangent is going to be positive root 3 over 2. I'm sorry, positive root 3 over 3. What's wrong with me today? And then over here, it's going to be like this one, but we're going back and down. So this is negative root 2 over 2, comma, negative root 2 over 2. And then your tangent will be a positive 1. This one here will be like your 60, so you went back a half and down root 3 over 2, and I do have to move it down for this. Back a half, down root 3 over 2, and then your tangent again is positive. If this is graph paper, we went nowhere, but we went down 1. So tangent is sine divided by cosine, so this would be undefined because you're dividing by 0. Like on this one here, let's do this one here first. So on this one here, we went positive root 3 over 2 down a half. So positive root 3 over 2 down a half. The tangent would be negative then, so negative root 3 over 3. Here we went positive root 2 over 2 down root 2 over 2. So positive root 2 over 2 down root 2 over 2. And the tangent here would be negative 1. And here, if we're following this right here, we're going out a half and down root 3 over 2. Out a half, down root 3 over 2. And the tangent here is negative root 3. So this is the entire unit circle right here. Like this is the whole thing. So applying everything we know about 30, 60, 90s and the fact that this has a radius of 1, this creates our unit circle. So let's talk about how we use the unit circle here. You're going to have to be able to find these. You're going to have those memorized. You're going to have the unit circle memorized. You will need to memorize the unit circle. And I know in my class, I discuss how you can go about that. Okay, I can't discuss that in a video because I like to be in person when I discuss that. So I'm going to assume at this point you have the unit circle memorized. And if you don't, just have it out in front of you. We'll talk. So you're eventually going to have to do these problems. Find the sine of 315 degrees. So how I go about this is I think, well, where in the world is 315? So we go over here, and I figure out what's my reference angle. Well, my reference angle for 315 is 45 degrees. Well, I know that a coordinate at 45 degrees is root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. But if I'm quadrant 4, I went out and I went down, so this one would be negative. And I also know that if I need to divide this out, my tangent's negative 1. Well, they want sine though. So which one of these is sine? It's this one. So that is literally your answer. Okay, so I didn't even really need to talk about tangent, but I did anyway. Tangent of 120 degrees. So find 120, figure out your reference angle. My reference angle here is 60. Well, I know at a 60 degree angle that I am going to have 1 over 2, comma, root 3 over 2. And I know that my tangent is going to be a root 3. Notice I have that memorized, right? But I went back and I went up, so that makes these negative. And they want the tangent of 120 degrees. So that is going to be your answer then. Boom. Cosine 330, go to 330. Reference angle is 30 degrees. At 30 degrees, we know we're at root 3 over 2, comma 1 over 2. But I'm in quadrant 4, so I go out and I go down. And I know my tangent is negative root 3 over 3. Notice I have it memorized, okay? So I want the cosine. The cosine is this first guy, so that's my answer. Boom. Okay, that's what a reference angle is all about, by the way. When we did reference angles, it helped us just think about our points. Because think about what I'm talking about here. If you look at a unit circle, do you notice that all the points are just a reflection of the first quadrant for the most part, right? They're all just a reflection of the first quadrant. So since that's true, that's why I keep focusing like on what's the first quadrant and then I apply my negatives, okay? So let's keep on going here. Sketch each angle, state the reference angle, and list all of the trig functions. Okay, so 225 is here. All right, our reference angle there is 45 degrees. At 45 degrees, I know I'm at root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2 with a tangent of 1, but I went back and I went down, so these are both negative, so this guy has to be a positive 1. So there's your cosine and sine and tangent. So negative root 2 over 2, negative root 2 over 2, and a positive 1. All right, no idea why my 150 is way over here, but let's go ahead and do this. Now it's negative 150, so we're going down like this. All right, so my reference angle then is 50, 60, that'd be 30 degrees. All right, so we know at 30 degrees, we would have a root 3 over 2, 1 over 2 as our coordinate. But we went back and we went down, so these are both negative. And we should know that our tangent is root 3 over 3, which this one will be positive because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So now I can just pop all these values in because this is cosine and sine. So negative 1 over 2, negative root 3 over 2, root 3 over 3. Now at any time, you're more than welcome to draw your special right triangle in there and work it out from there. But I'm assuming you don't want to do that, which is why it's important you just memorize it. Okay, so over here, 135. So we're here. We have a reference angle of 45 degrees. We know at this point it should be root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. But we went back and we went up, so that's negative, and that's our cosine sine. And then our tangent, when we divide that, will be negative 1. So sine is root 2 over 2. Cosine's negative root 2 over 2. Tangent's negative 1. Look at that. That's how it flows. Negative 300 is here. All right, so if we're here, we have a reference angle of 60. We know when we have a reference angle of 60, we're 1 over 2 root 3 over 2. I went to the right and I went up, so they're both positive. And we should know our tangent is root 3. So these are our answers for cosine and sine. So root 3 over 2, 1 over 2, and root 3. Okay? Watch this over and over. This is the stuff people miss. Now these guys are weirdos, right? There's no really reference angle for a quadrantal, not in my opinion. So we know this coordinate right here is 0, negative 1. And we know this is cosine and sine. And tangent is sine divided by cosine, which will give us an undefined for this one. So why they ask for cosine first? That's weird. So cosine, sine, undefined. Ooh, it rhymed. Ooh, and even that part rhymed. I know I'm a nerd. Okay, so we go over here. Negative 1 comma 0, cosine sine. Tangent is sine divided by cosine, so the tangent is 0. Negative 1, 0, 0. That's it. Guys, it is majorly important that you know how to do these the way I just did them, and eventually at that quickness level. So please rewatch it, retry it. In class, I will help you come up with ways to memorize a unit circle now that you know how to derive it, and you are more than welcome to always derive it if you would like to also. Okay, I just think that might take you longer to derive it every single time, but maybe if you do, you'll have it memorized. So it is what it is. And until next time, goodbye.